Over the last several weeks, I have been talking with various preferred lending partners of mine about various aspects of the mortgage world, what people are seeing, what is happening with interest rates. Been talking with each one of them about a couple of different aspects. And so in today's video, I'm talking with Jackie Hurtis with Interlink Mortgage. She's one of my preferred go-to lenders. And we're talking about what she's seeing, why people need to be looking at the facts. Because again, I am somebody that is very much facts over fear. And guess what? The headlines are putting a lot of fear-based information out there. But if you're interested in the Nashville market, if you're looking at purchasing here in the Middle Tennessee area, Jackie and I are diving into why there needs to be less fear about purchasing here, what she's seeing day in and day out in this industry. Plus, she actually talks about the cost of waiting in a scenario that she has recently walked a buyer through. So we're talking about all of that and more in today's video. So without further ado, please enjoy this interview with Jackie Hurtis.
Okay, so today I've got Jackie Hurtis with me with Interlink Mortgage. Jackie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course, thank you for having us as always.
Absolutely. So there's a lot, I feel like, that's kind of going on, not only in our real estate world here in Nashville, but just, we've seen different headlines with the mortgage world. There's all this talk about crash and this and that, or the potential for it. And so my whole goal in doing all of this is just to help better educate people. And even though I'm in the thick of it in the real estate side, obviously you guys are looking at your own metrics. So would just love to see, love to know what you are seeing happening right now in the mortgage world.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe you can speak to this. In the last the year started off, it was crazy. It was like overnight once that calendar switches, and that's every January. As soon as it flips to a new year, people are like, this is my year, I'm gonna buy a house. So leads just went crazy in January. And then that kind of was the case up until February. Things slowed down a little bit, February and March. And then the last couple weeks, we've been slammed again. And all of a sudden we're seeing buyers, multiple offer situations again. I have people waiving inspections, asking, hey, can I waive the appraisal? Should we put in a conventional offer instead of a VA offer because we have a better chance of getting it accepted? Wow. And this just happened all in the last couple of weeks. So at least in Middle Tennessee, there's no way that a crash is going to happen.
Right. And that's something that I've tried to explain to anybody who's asked, is just the fact that obviously lending standards back then were far more loose than what they are now. Plus we had an oversupply of housing back then where we're still dealing with undersupply. That even speaks to the fact that we are seeing multiple offers come back to the table. So what are you kind of seeing in terms of rates? How have those been in the last couple of weeks?
We are, in the last couple of days, we've seen a lot of improvement. So we're floating right around probably mid sixes, okay, typically with a point. I think people have really gotten kind of used to that, right?
Yep.
When it happened so quickly. They were going up, people got to 7% and people freaked out. Now it's just kind of okay, that's, most people I feel like are this is where it's at right now. We'll deal with it. We'll get into the house and then we'll refinance down the road. So middle sixes right now, depending on what loan program you're doing. I know we have THDA, which is Tennessee's first time home buyer program. They're at 5.5 right now, which sounds insanely low. And then they're at 5% if you have somebody who is first responder, like an EMT, firefighter, things like that. So first time home buyer potential at 5% interest rate right now is insanity. It sounds so low. But yeah, mid sixes right now overall, just depending on all the factors.
So if you're meeting with, whether it's a buyer that wants to move here, whether it's a first time home buyer, and they're nervous or are you even seeing that anymore? Are people, because, obviously rates are different than what they were a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Because I still hear the comments and concerns about interest rates. Are you still hearing that too?
Yes, but not to the same extent that we were having last year.
So Jackie, you were telling me a little bit about a first time home buyer you were talking with, and then what their CPA said. So kind of walk me through, what that conversation was.
So this guy was ready to go, first time home buyer, all excited. I was like, cool, he's self-employed. I was like, I need your taxes. So get me your 2022 taxes, and then we'll get rocking and rolling. He has this conversation with the CPA that he's looking to buy a house, and the CPA is like, oh, you would be ridiculous to buy right now. Prices are so high, rates are so high. I said, okay, let's go along with this. What do you think is going to happen once rates drop? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, the second rates drop, everybody who's sitting on the sidelines, so everyone is sitting on the sidelines waiting to jump in the second that rates drop. So we're going to have the same issue that we had in 2021, where we have way too many buyers and no homes to sell them. So you're going to be paying, we had people going, you know this, we had people going $50,000, $100,000 over list price just to get a house. You weren't getting seller credits. You weren't getting your THDA first-time homebuyer programs accepted. You were coming to table, if you weren't writing a 20% down conventional offer, you had no chance of getting a house. So like, yeah, 3% interest rates would be great, but that means you're no longer buying. So get in now. Prices, prices are not going down. They've stabilized since.
They've definitely stabilized. And that's something that I've had the conversation with people before, is like, when our market was white hot, you had the part of the market that was owned by the actual market, but then you had what the buyer owned on top of it, because they were willing to pay that 150,000 over. But then when the rates went up, that piece kind of came off the top. So it's not that prices are like dropping, we're just far more sustainable and things are leveling themselves back out. But if we're looking at the bigger picture and where Nashville's going, they're only going to go up. So playing the waiting game, which I know it's in the mortgage. It's the cost of waiting. It's something that, is talked about a lot, and maybe people don't fully understand the cost of waiting, but it's kind of like that first-time home buyer that you're talking about. It, like you said, okay, so you wait. Then rates, if they do go down, more competition enters the market. Then they're bidding against more competition. They're probably gonna have to bid higher than they would if they got in now. Plus, by the time they may get one, where's the appreciation gonna go that they could have already been, sitting on the building in a home of their own?
Well, I'm like, people always say, oh, prices are too high, prices are too high. I wish I had bought 5 years ago. You could have got a house for $200,000 in Nashville. I'm like, yes, but do you ever, that's for every product in the world, right? Yep. Cars, everything is going up. Like, you're never going to be able to go back and get the price from 5 years ago. It's always going to go up. Yes, well, was there a dip when the housing market crashed? Absolutely. So I played devil's advocate with him, and I'm like, because his concern was we're going to go into a recession and housing prices are going to plummet. What if that happens? You still need a place to live. You can still, I'm not putting you in a house that you're not comfortable with that monthly payment. So you're still going to sit there, you're going to wait, and you're going to wait for the price to come back up. Because people bought during the housing crash in 2008. They bought at the bottom, or they had, somebody in our office was considering selling in 2008. They're like, we have to get out, we need this cash. He's like, thank God I didn't sell, because that house is worth millions today.
Isn't it wild? And that's came in 2008 and made all the smart choices. And even on top of that, it's like, with the fact that our inventory is still low, it's better than what it was 2 years ago, but ultimately it's still low. So you still have supply and demand. Plus, we're supposed to have another 200,000 people move here by 2025, another million landing in the state of Tennessee by 2040, with 57% landing in Middle Tennessee. They all need a place to live. And yeah, not all of them will buy, but the demand is still there to move here.
You and I do so many reloads, right? We have so many people relocating from California, New York, Chicago, all those places. A lot of people are coming here because no state income tax, right? It's a good place to be, good place to raise a family. So Middle Tennessee is insulated, right? Other places may see home prices go down, but we're not seeing that in Middle Tennessee.
Exactly. And so that is something, I know.
Just roll with it.
It's like Astros down here deciding to play. But that is something that, as people are making decisions or considering to purchase here, it would take a lot for the reasons why, at least the people that I've worked with who are explaining why they're moving here, it would take Tennessee would basically have to flip on its head for, you know, people to all of a sudden be like, no, like Tennessee. And so, you know, even you talking about the crash of 08, I mean, I know that there's plenty of charts out there where it shows the overall trajectory of home prices. And you're right, there was a nice significant dip in 08, but the overall trend is going up.
That's like, if you go back and you look at home prices over the last 100 years, it's going up. There's no way around that. And yes, there was a little dip in 08, and God forbid we have another dip. We're not anticipating that in Middle Tennessee, but God forbid that happens. You hold on to the property; it's your primary residence. You stay there. You don't sell at the bottom. We're not going to get you in a house. You want to be smart about what you're buying, right? I don't want you to max out your sales price. I don't want to max out your debt to income ratio. Get into a house that you're comfortable with that payment. You're going to have to live somewhere regardless. So you can either put it into an investment or you can continue paying rent.
Exactly. I mean, that's just, I wish, and I think a lot of where this comes in for me is when I bought my first place, like, I don't know, 8 years ago now, like, I didn't fully understand how real estate played into a bigger picture, like how it actually builds wealth, how it can be a part of a bigger financial strategy. And so for me, it's trying, you know, I never advocate like even what you're saying, you don't want someone to max out their debt to income ratio. Like, you know, even when the market was insane, I was never advocating for people to like just throw crazy kinds of money at an offer, right? It was stating what the situation was, where I believed, you know, based on what I could get from the list agent, where I believed the offer needed to be, the terms that are viewed as most favorable by a seller, but ultimately allowed the decision to be on the buyer because you know, at the end of the day, they are the ones living with the mortgage payment. And I want them to feel really comfortable, but also like really educated about their buying decision.
Yeah, their investment and what they've done. And I think you have to look at it as a long-term investment. Yes. If you can't time the market. We're talking about buying your primary residence, right? I'm not talking about going and buying investment properties and building your portfolio right now. That's a whole nother conversation. But buying a primary residence, you have to have a place to live. Yeah. So it's just like the stock market. It's a long-term investment.
Absolutely. And I mean, there were some people in the height of our market that they could buy and then literally still like a year later could sell it for a crazy profit, right? That's not necessarily the case now. However, like you said, it's a longer term strategy just because in the peak of our market, I think we were seeing appreciation at like 4% month over month, which was insane. And unsustainable.
Yes. And that's not realistic, right? No. So that was like best case scenario, but I still believe that owning real estate is the best way to grow wealth.
Oh, absolutely. And I think there's a statistic out there that says that 90% of millionaires are millionaires through real estate. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I know obviously there could be situations where it's not in the best interest of somebody to purchase, but if somebody is ready and they're able and they want to purchase now, I don't really see anything.
Don't let the rate scare you off is the big thing.
Right.
Because an interest rate of 6% is a very average interest rate. We were extremely spoiled during the pandemic when rates were at 2s and 3s. But that's not an average rate. I think everyone like our age just forgot, like we were just coming into like the home buying age. And so that's what we were all used to, but that's not a normal interest rate.
No, no.
We may never see 2.5% again on a 30-year, right?
Well, I mean, back in the 80s, it was like 16, 17, 18% interest. Like, I think people would fall over dead with that.
I love my older clients who come to me and they're like, 7%, that's a great rate. I was at 16% of my first house. I'm like, thank you.
And it's all about perspective though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It comes back to, you know, if you've never known anything other than lower rates, yeah, mid 6s can seem high, But on the alternative, those who have lived through higher interest rates, this doesn't really seem that bad. Yeah. But it's like if you're always waiting to see what happens. Sorry, like Zoom just told me I got signed out, but clearly not. Super weird. But it's always like if you're waiting for like the interest rates to drop, or you're waiting, it's just, there's so many factors out there that
you're never going to time it perfectly. You're never going to time it perfectly. You just have to get into real estate and hold it long term. What was I just going to? Because we get these people who are coming to us and like, I'm just going to wait until rates go down, right? Yeah. Well, everybody has that same mentality.
Yes.
So it's exactly what you're talking. As soon as rates go down, you're competing against multiple offers again.
It's going to get wild.
You're not getting a deal.
Nope.
Get into the house now while you can, while it's at a like reasonable price, while you're not going 50,000 over to win the house, and then refinance when rates go down. Exactly. And everyone's like, well, refinance isn't guaranteed. No, it's not. It's not guaranteed. So that we're going to get you in a house where you're already comfortable with the monthly payment. Best case is rates go down and you refinance, you get an even lower payment at a reasonable sales price.
Exactly. Or if rates go up, then you're going to be glad that you're locked in at that lower rate.
That's the other piece of it.
You know, we don't have a magic ball. We cannot accurately predict in the future where they're going to go. But you're very right in terms of, I mean, between the fact, because you do, yes, we've seen more inventory come to the market, but kind of like we mentioned earlier, you do have sellers that are sitting there with, those twos, 3 interest rates, and they don't necessarily want to trade up if they don't have to.
Yep.
So that's where it's like because of that, we don't have as much inventory as we could. Then say rates go down, we're right back, like you said, to one of those wild markets where you got far more demand than you do supply, which you may get the better rate, but what are you going to have to sacrifice to
get that right? Yeah. And are you winning the house?
Exactly.
That was a great market for people who had cash. That was a great market for people who had a ton of equity in a house already to go and throw into another property. If you're a first-time home buyer, you were not competing in that market.
Absolutely not. Mm-mm.
There was like, we were doing pre-approvals, every single one was conventional. Because I'm like, I can do an FHA pre-approval for you, it's not going to get accepted. I can give you a THDA, first-time homebuyer program pre-approval, that's not getting accepted. VA is not getting accepted. FHA is certainly not getting accepted. So it's just, you're going to have it's going to be a challenge whenever you buy a property, right? What's the challenge? Right now, the challenge is interest rate.
Have you seen anybody trying to do assumable loans, like assuming the seller's loan?
I get the question a lot. I don't think they pan out most of the time. So let's say you have a house, it's on the market for $400,000. The current seller has a VA loan for $200,000. The problem that we're finding people have is that you're not going to find anybody who's willing to bridge that gap and give you a loan for the additional $200,000.
Okay. Yep.
So it's a great option in theory, but in real life, it rarely actually works out.
Very well.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I haven't found a bank who's willing to do that second mortgage or that second loan.
Right. What are you seeing in terms of appraisals? Where are those coming in?
I don't really think we've had appraisal issues.
Awesome. I mean, I'm always curious, like as multiples start to happen, are you seeing appraisal gaps being offered, or?
I haven't seen many appraisal gaps.
Okay.
I've just in the last 2 or 3 weeks, it started to come up, pay escalation clause. So I had somebody wanting to write a conventional offer rather than they were previously pre-approved for VA. They're like, it's not going to get accepted if we don't do conventional. That kind of stuff. I haven't seen appraisal gaps yet.
Okay. So we're not quite back to the insanity, but we're definitely still in a very strong market. And I mean, I had somebody that was a cash buyer recently, and we ended up in a multiple, but it was a multiple against 4 others instead of like 20 others. And we only had to go 15. I always feel like I cringe when I say that. Like
we only had to do 15 above.
But truly, it was only 15, which is way better than, you know, the 75, 100 plus we were seeing a year and a half ago.
And it really depends now on the listing agent. Are they listing it correctly? I know some of them are going slightly below what the comps say to create a bidding war. And then the ones that are sitting are maybe just slightly above what the comps suggest. So it's just all in the pricing. Not everything is multiple offer. There's still deals to be had for sure. I'm still getting some buyers are literally coming to the table with no money out of pocket, sellers giving full credit, and that was unheard of when rates were at 3%.
Yeah, exactly. So it's still a strong market, but buyers right now still have more negotiating power. There are still multiple offers, but not all. And I mean, that's pretty much what the team and I have kind of noticed for the most part. Of course, like I almost feel like as an agent, you have a little bit of PTSD when it comes to like multiples again, because you're like, oh God, are we like, I don't think I slept for 2 years.
Yes, it was bananas. It's so funny because I was like, wow, I never thought I would be excited to hear the word multiple offer, but here we are.
Isn't it crazy?
And then it's funny that we consider that it's not a healthy market to have multiple offers, right? That still means that we don't have enough supply.
Yes.
We still have a supply issue. So it's just funny looking back at 2021 and now we've been trained to think is a healthy market is, it's only 4 offers instead of 24.
Exactly. Which is so crazy to me because like when everything slowed down and you could go in and all of a sudden you had all of these repair negotiations and you were the only one on the table. I don't know if it's just like my competitive side, but you know, like every time that I won a multiple offer for my people, I was like, yes. And not for any other reason than like, I wanted to serve them well. Like if that was the house they wanted, I wanted them to have it. Right. And it also feels like you kind of sharpen your skills.
For sure.
Multiple offer, but then, I mean, a non-multiple still dictates kind of a different set of skills, right? You know, especially with all the
realtors who just gotten in the business in 2020, 2021, they're like, I've never written a repair proposal or whatever you guys call them. Yeah. I'm like, because you guys weren't doing inspections. So it's like a whole new thing that you guys are having to learn. Absolutely. If you're new. But you would know you've gone through it all. It's just a different, exactly. You're negotiating on different things now.
Yeah, it's really interesting, but you know, I'm just I feel really positive and really hopeful, you know, just in the strength of our market. You know, do you have any kind of thoughts in terms of what you think the rest of the year might look like? I mean, obviously we don't have crystal balls, but
we're blessed to be where we're at, right? We're blessed to be in Nashville and the surrounding Nashville area. I see it picking up based on what I've seen in the last couple of weeks. Rates are starting to come back down. Applications are picking up. People are ready to go. The rates are no longer scaring people out like they were a year ago because it's just, it is what it is now. Gas prices are higher. Prices on cars are higher. That doesn't stop people from going and buying new cars. Like it just is what it is. That's the new normal right now until rates go down and then refinance.
Exactly. I think that was great. Well, Jackie, thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed our conversation and I hope that people find this helpful. And of course, I will put all of your contact information down below so that people can grab that as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of course. So I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Jackie. If you want to talk to her more about the mortgage world, especially about purchasing in Nashville, I'm going to leave all of her contact information down below along with mine. If you are thinking about making a move to the Middle Tennessee area, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. All of my contact information is below. In fact, if you are ready to start that conversation, you can click the link below to go ahead and book a Zoom discovery call with me to talk more about your moving needs and what you're looking for and to see if we're a fit. If you're not quite ready for that just yet, that is okay too. I have a free Nashville relocation guide down below. Just click the link and you'll be able to download. Again, my name is Caitlin Martin. I'll see you next time.